Alrighty, guys. Nice late night discussion watch. Some more Lucio Fulci. It's been a while since I've done a full spoiler discussion on a movie of his, since Zombie, I believe, in January. So, Aenigma from 1987 is a very underrated Fulci film. Now, this is kind of like Fulci's Carrie. Like, you can definitely feel and see a lot of influence from Brian De Palma's film, Stephen King's novel, all throughout this movie with the psychic link with Kathy in the coma. For people who haven't seen this movie, I suggest don't watch the rest of this and go see it. It's on Tubi. It's Lucio Fulci. You can't go wrong. It's basically this girl, Kathy, at a boarding school in Boston, and she ends up, she's like not popular. She's gets made fun of all the time, and she ends up getting set up on this date with like the dance instructor, this guy, and they go out and then they end up throwing a big prank on her, and she ends up getting hit by a car and ends up in a hospital in a coma. And then we have another girl who shows up like halfway through the year called Ava, and she has this sort of psychic link to Kathy that's still in the coma. That's pretty much all you need to know going into it. But is this like in like the top of Fulci's films? No. There's definitely some issues here. Mostly for me, like pacing, like it can get kind of slow at certain points for sure. But it's definitely a Fulci film that's underrated, and it's definitely one that like I'll throw on if I feel like watching Fulci, but like feel like watching like a more obscure Fulci, if that makes sense. And instead of just watching the same like five, six like you know fan favorites of Fulci, it's like I feel like a deep cut Fulci. I'd go Enigma or like the Black Cat, something like that. So let's talk 1987's Enigma by Lucio Fulci. So yeah, we take place here at the beginning at St. Mary's boarding school in Boston, Massachusetts. And it's definitely not a Fulci film. It does if it doesn't start on a shot of an eyeball putting the makeup on, and this song at the beginning is so cheesy. It's so 80s. Like it's fine, but it's just like am I watching a Fulci film? Did I put the right movie in like the first time you see this? So funny. Falling head over heels. Oh, it's so bad. But poor old little Kathy, who's not cared for much in this school. She's getting ready in the nice red dress and stuff. It feels like Sarah Goldfarb in Requiem for a Dream, Alan Burstyn. And I just want the red dress for me and Harry. Oh, I fucking adore that movie. And Alan Burstyn. But they're setting her up on this fake date. Excuse me. Which is fucked up. And just making a whole prank on her to make her think that she's going on a date with this hot gym teacher that like is the only guy at this college, and all these girls like are trying to bang. Messed up, man. Any type of bullying, I've said it many times on the channel. I cannot stand that. I think it's a huge problem, and it doesn't get addressed as much as it should. But anytime I see shit like this in a movie, I just want to beat the shit out of the bullies, like every single time. But she ends up getting hit by a car and put in a coma, man. Like, that's serious shit. Like, people don't realize when they bully somebody or just mess around and they think they're just messing around, that's when serious shit can happen. And it can happen anytime. I like when they're chasing Kathy in the cars and she's running. Some cool shots from behind her, and all you see is darkness, but then you just see her in the red dress running. Some cool shots there. Like I like how they keep switching between that and like the shots of the cars and the girls that are chasing her. And yeah, she gets hit by a car, but like first time I saw this, I was kind of like shocked that like Fulci didn't make like some gore gag like with her getting hit. Like it just like you don't see anything. But then you see in the hospital. So I'm guessing that's why. But like you see like the scars on her face and like she's hooked up to all the IVs and it's kind of creepy, man. Like the way she looks in this movie, she's pretty damn creepy at times. Like just the way that her dead ass like her face is just like frozen in this just scary position. Like, I don't know, it's effective. And we see the nurse, looking at the all the computers and the readings and stuff. And we get classic Fulci, shot up close on her eyes, and then one machine, eyes, the other machine, shot real well, shot real Fulci-esque. Fulci-esque? Fulci-esque. Now you hear right after that whole scene with Kathy and the doctors in the hospital, you hear, "No, I don't want to die. I don't want to die." And it says on the subtitles, Kathy. So I'm gonna stick a pin in this because there's a whole ambiguous ending here and what all this is supposed to mean. So I'm gonna try to remember as much as I can because it's been a little bit since I've seen Enigma. And then Ava, the main chick here, arrives at the boarding school, and I like her acting's not great in this, but it's decent enough. And I like this shot when she's walking up the stairs that it's her, and then it switches to Kathy, and switches to her, and then Kathy. Interesting when we get to the end and talk about all that. But I like how Ava's not over sexualized in this movie, and she's a pretty girl, but she's not great looking or anything like that. But she's not ugly by any means. She's just a nice looking girl. I don't know, I just like her whole character in this and the mystique to her, and she doesn't know really what's happening throughout this movie until a little later. And now, first thing that should tip off anyone the first time watching this is that Ava had a nervous breakdown, a mild nervous breakdown, she says, but she's been better now. So she's coming in the middle of the school year, which is an exception they're making for her. And it sounds like her father is has some type of political position, and that they have a lot of money. 'Cause she mentions that it's not just because of your father's position. So she comes from some type of wealthy family. I like Ava's personality too. When she meets her roommate Jennifer. And Jennifer's a cool character too. But I like when Ava's like, "All right, Jennifer, let's get this straight. A successful semester for me is making out with as many hot boys as possible," or something like that. Funny. And then we see, wouldn't be an 80s movie without aerobics class, or an aerobics video. And you just man, imagine being an aerobics teacher. That's probably the easiest job in the world. As a male, teacher with a class full of females, I think that's a warning sign that the guy might be a fucking a rapist of some sort. I could see some people into it, but a guy like this, he's just going around eye fucking every single person in there, and they're all doing the same back to him because he's the only guy on this freaking campus. So they're in this weird ass position, but it's just another aerobic scene, just a million of them in the 80s. And see, he is rapey. He grabs the girl's ass, and she's like, "If you squeeze my ass again, I'll slap you," or some shit like that. And then Ava and him arrange a meeting for later in the day. And unfortunately, doesn't get to happen. And Jennifer tells Eva that the gymnast guy, the teacher, has a picture of Incredible Hulk on the door. But she does warn Eva and says that Fred, the gymnast, can be kind of dangerous and that he has a reputation. And she says, "Well, so do I. I have an unhealthy reputation too." Which I like that line. She just had a mild nervous breakdown, as she says. So she's got her unhealthy side of her mind too. Yeah, so then we cut to Fred, and we see Kathy's mom, who's the maid or something there. I forgot. Something like that. She works at the college here. Excuse me. And she was in where Fred is, in the room there, and he asks her to leave. She leaves. Then she looks around the corner, and her eyes glow red, which is stupid. I mean, I don't like glowy eyes like that, but it is what it is. I mean, it looks fine, but it always takes me out of something for a second. Like I just said this in another video, and I said I was going to say that in this one. So something with the glowy eyes I just don't like. But she's obviously has some type of power and control, because then we see Fred get choked out and killed by his mirror image, like his doppelganger in a mirror. Like, and it's shot pretty cool. Like, it's shot pretty cool. The way it's shot is pretty cool. Like, just having, like, how he comes out of the mirror, his reflection, and then just strangles him on the ground, and then, like, walks back into the mirror. It's some cool stuff there. Some really cool shots. And that leads to Kathy in the hospital in the coma having a strong emotional response, but having no brain activity. And the doctors don't know what to think about it. But yeah, again, like when the doctors are talking around Kathy, just above shots looking down of her in the hospital bed, she's creepy looking. Like, and it's just the actress, like his face with all the tubes and stuff like that, and it's not much, but like it's just the way it's shot, I guess. Like it really looks creepy. The way it just settles, like zooms in and just settles on her face, like lying there. It's some creepy stuff. And I love the sound design there with the really low, like woo 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 sound. Like it sounds really cool. And then you see Kathy smile just a little bit. I don't know what that means until we get to the end and I can piece it all together again, but cool. Like it's fucking evil looking. So then Ava says to Jennifer and the other girls and stuff that Fred stood her up and that she went to his room and she could hear him in there, but he wouldn't answer, and she left. Obviously, Fred was just killed. So let's see if those are linked or not. Then we get the scene when they're all hanging out in one of the rooms, and Eva's on the bed, and they were rolled a joint and they're about to pass it around, pass the Dutchie on the left-hand side, and they end up needing a light, and Eva reaches into the drawer right next to her and gets the lighter and throws it to one of them. And they're like, how do you know there was a lighter in there? And she says that everybody keeps one in their drawer, like next to their bed. And they said, nah, I don't. She's like, I do. Like, and they start saying whose bed it used to be, and it was Kathy, who's in the coma. So there's some strong psychic link between the two of these girls for some reason. And her mom, Kathy's mom, the maid, she looks creepy as shit. Like, they really, like, the way that he shot her and stuff, like, and a little bit of makeup on her, she looks just, like, bugged out, like, out of her mind crazy. So they did a good job with that when she's, like, hanging around and, like, listening to what they're saying and they're, like, eavesdropping. Pretty creepy. I love that quick pan in shot, like the zoom in shot when it just comes up the stairs and then onto the painting of the woman for, like, I guess she's like the head mistress of the school or like founder of the school, something like that. But I love that whole shot, how it just zooms in fast up the stairs and then up and like to show the painting. Cool shot. And so they just easily rule Fred's death as a heart attack, the gymnast. Like, without any other question. They're like these type of guys, they work out so much, and then before they know it, they've done too much damage, and they drop dead. Like, okay, so that's just it. So he died of a heart attack, I guess. And then I love how, like, all the girls, like, one by one, starts whispering, Fred's dead. Fred had a heart attack. Fred died. Fred kicked the bucket. Like, instead of just like one person or two girls like just saying it out loud so everyone could hear, like just the way they whisper one to the other, and it's so funny. And the fact that it doesn't change really much from beginning to end is pretty impressive, because the game of telephone and how that usually ends up. Another creepy shot of Mary, the mother of Kathy, the maid and groundskeeper, caretaker, whatever the hell. She does a lot of stuff. But she shoves like the thing of snails in one of the girls' face, and again she just looks fucking evil. She looks just like something's up with her. Like, she's really creepy looking the way that she looks in this movie. And the girl like freaks out like, oh, snails, like get them away from me. And Kathy ends up saying, not Kathy, Ava ends up saying that she was from New Orleans. And then the next day, or later in that day, she's talking to Jennifer, and she said that no, she's not from New Orleans, like Kathy was. She's from Boston. So we have her saying one at one time, one scene that she's from New Orleans, just like where Kathy's from, and then next thing she says is she's from Boston. So definitely something's up with our Ava character. So that like slutty friend of Eva, not Jennifer, or some other slut, she ends she ends up going off to fuck Tom or her boyfriend, and I think something kind of cool happens with him, if I remember correctly. And this is a ridiculous scene, but it's Fulci. Like it really is like you know it's Fulci when you first see this. Just with the snails in one of their beds. I forget what the girl's name is, some other bitch. And right before she walks in her room, she sees Mary, Kathy's mom, like wiping the walls and cleaning and stuff like that. And she's giving her this weird look, and then she just like goes into her room, and there's snails all over her bed. And up, of course, zoomed up close, just in Fulci fashion. And the score is pretty cool in this. The score, in general, in this whole movie, is pretty good. Like, it's nothing great, but I enjoy it. Like, every time I watch this, like, it has a good score, and it fits the movie. But then she freaks out about the snails, and then the head mistress lady, she ends up coming, and there's no snails, not snail one on this bed. There's nothing. So she starts questioning her sanity until we see the one snail on the poster on the wall. And then when do you get to see 4 or 5 snails on the tit of a woman and then all over her body? Only in a Lucio Fulci movie, right here. The middle of the night, all the snails are all over her naked body. Like she just has like a sheet over her like vagina area, but all over her. And it looks so gross. Like to imagine being covered in snails like that? No way. And then of course we get the cheesy 80s generic guitar solo like type of score, and just so many snails, man, and they're all over her face, and then the one like climbs into her mouth, like it's in pure disgusting Fulci fashion. Like it's a really just bizarre scene, but like it's so much fun. Now again, it says in the subtitles here you can hear voices, but it says like ghosts whispering. So that's something I'm going to keep in mind also. Ghosts whispering. So it's implying there are ghosts. And the next morning they all find out the girl suffocated to death, is what they say. Is that she had her pillow pressed over her head, and that the girls are guessing she was so scared or something, and she just strangled herself, basically. Just smothered herself with her own pillow. Nothing about snails. Not snail 1, not snail 0. And when her friend finds the body and screams, you hear Kathy laugh. So Kathy's controlling someone psychically from her coma, trying to take revenge on those who, put her in this coma, who played this prank on her, almost killed her. So then it's Ava and Jennifer in their room, and they're talking about the girl who died via snails. And Ava starts going into like this seizure almost, this like psychic seizure. And then she starts acting violent and throwing all the clothes at Jennifer, and she has no idea what the hell's going on with her. So like the whole school is freaking out that Eva had this fit. And they call a doctor, and the doctor comes to check her out. And again, nice little shot on Mary, the mother of Kathy, and her creepy ass self while the doctor's walking to Eva's room. Nice shot there. And we get another close in zooming shot of Kathy in the hospital with her little smile and her laughter. It's creepy. Like all the shots of her, like I said, like are just really well done. Like of her in the hospital bed. Like she looks fucked up. Like she looks brain dead. Like she looks crazy. Like it's really effective what they did with her. Oh yeah, I forgot this happened. So then Eva just like grabs the doctor and like just starts making out with him. They start making out with each other. Like it's so random. Then we just get like this cheesy scene with the with Ava talking with the doctor outside of school the next day, and then saying that do you find me attractive? And him saying that listen, what happened yesterday, last night, I don't kiss all my patients like that. So some cheesy romance between them. And his name is Robert. He likes Robert. He does not like being called Bob. Then they're making out and fucking probably in the next scene. Like, they're making out. They probably fucked. So, I don't know what. I forgot this whole, like, subplot with them. I have no idea where this goes. So then one of the girls, they're like going somewhere, and yeah, descriptive. And they end up, one of the girls is missing her earring. And, like, she's like, oh, my mom will kill me. And then we find out that Ava has the earring and that she found it and she's not saying anything. Remember at the beginning of this video when I said like this movie does have some pacing issues? This is where a lot of it is. Like after the snail scene and then a little bit after that. Like this is like maybe a good 15, 20 minutes before something's about to happen in a little bit. But I can definitely see people saying it's slow here because even for me it is a little slow here. But it does pick up. This movie's kind of like up and down a bit, but it's still, like I said, an underrated Fulci film that I really enjoy, like time to time. Now this is cool. This whole scene here, I like the score here of when Ava goes with the girl who lost her earring to, I forget if this is at the school or if this is like the art museum or something like that. But there's art there, and then like a severed hand gets thrown in front of the girl who lost her earring. I don't remember her name. I don't even know if they mentioned it or not. They probably did, like always. And then like blood's coming down, and she's seeing all this. That's all shot very, very well. And like I said, the score is great in this, and the blood's hitting her face, like dripping onto her. Cool stuff. So we see that like Kathy can basically make people see things, just like she did with the snails, with the girl in bed, and here with the blood falling on her because that was just like a vision or just something that was she was a hallucination, something that she saw that Eva or Kathy put into her mind. And then we get a really cool scene when the friend starts freaking out and calling for Ava, and we see the blankets fly off of all the skeletons and stuff, the skeletal remains of corpses. That's really cool. Grace, that's her name. Grace. So then she starts hearing Kathy saying like, I'm here, Grace, I'm here. And yeah, that's how I got her name. I'm here. And then she goes up to this statue of a guy holding another guy's head, and she sees Kathy's head as the head being held. That looks really cool too. And then seeing the snake on the ground, that big ass snake, and she's like terrified. And then again, cool score behind getting some cool shots, eye shots as usual, of Kathy's eyes snapping open in the hospital. And then the nurse is looking at her, and then seeing Grace get choked out by a statue. But the only thing that bothers me is like when he first grabs her, his like cheek hits her, and you can see the rubber bounce. It's very small, but it's very distracting at the same time. But yeah, so then it registers on her, computers and everything again. The doctors are all around Kathy, so all her numbers are going up just like last time when she had that strong emotional response when Fred died, or she killed Fred, whatever you want to look at it as. Same thing here with Grace. And yeah, it was in the museum part of the college. I like the shot when Eva's coming down the stairs, and then she's about to walk into a room with Jennifer there, and how it just pans in on her, and then up, and then to her eyes as she like snaps into this trance. Really, really cool shot. So the headmistress at the college is talking to the doctor and saying that Eva comes from a prestigious family in Boston, and but she's become emotionally unstable and she should be under a doctor's care while she's here. And offers him, will you take the job? So now he's there and is taking care of Eva in more than one way. Ha 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 ha. Yeah, and see, like first night they're making out like crazy, about to fuck like rabbits. Like, how is this gonna work? It's a doctor patient thing. And then the next morning, the doctor is trying to like get information out of her and try to make her open up to him, and she wants nothing to do with talking. She just wants to make out more with him. And Jennifer walks in and catches them, and she gets pissed. She's like, "What? You learn to knock first?" And the doctor asks like a curious question when he says like, when did you meet Kathy? And she said, I never met Kathy. Like, Kathy was in the hospital already, like when she got to school. So I wonder why the doctor asked that question, because surely he would know that she was in the hospital, because he's been looking after Kathy. And then the doctor is with his assistant, and I like this ambiguity here, saying that how could she be from Boston? She doesn't even know like the major rivers and stuff that go through it, and it's like she has a total recall of somebody else's memories. And then the one of the nurses or something comes up, and he says, "Yeah, because she is that other person." And then looks down at Kathy, and then walks away. And then we just get this random scene of them fucking, just like with a bunch of like red lighting and stuff. I mean, whatever. Like, it's cool. Yeah, it's cool till it's not, because it's just like having a nightmare. But she's like scratching in his fucking chest and making him bleed, and then like real creepy shots of her face on top of him, and then she like reaches in and bites his chest. Not a good dream. Like, definitely not a wet one. Imagine having a fucked up dream like that. I mean, I've had all my dreams that basically are really fucked up, but not like that. Like, that's weird. Now, what I really like about this movie is I like that it's more of a slow burn, even though, like I said, it can drag at points. It really builds this eeriness as the movie goes on, and I really love that about this. Like, Fulci like did a really good job of like building this just awkward, weird atmosphere throughout this movie, and it's definitely an underrated one. Like I said, like even among Fulci fans, like I don't hear Enigma brought up often. So then they notified the doctor that they kicked Ava out basically, and had to notify her parents, and she left. So now she's at whatever other school, and she's writing a note to the doctor, and yeah, they kicked her out with no warning. Like, that sucks. Oh, that's right. And then Jennifer and the doctor end up getting in a little frisky time with themselves. It's kind of depressing when you think about it. Like, she's just in love with this doctor. Like, is she really in love with him? I don't know. But she's writing him like crazy and saying that she's on all this medication and these pills and all she needs is you and stuff. And then they're just showing scenes of him and Jennifer falling for each other. And yeah, it kind of sucks for Eva. And then we get my favorite shot in this movie is when it just fast zooms right in on Kathy in the hospital with her eyes wide open, and she goes, and then you get the shot of Eva like snapping her head to the camera, and her eyes like get taken over. Like, awesome. That's such a great shot. I love that so much. And then we see Mary, Kathy's mom, the crazy cat lady looking maid, caretaker, whatever, and she's in another cool shot when she's like goes down the stairs in the middle of the hallway, and then like you have like it's from like the top of the stairs looking down the stairway, and there's other stairs going up to the next level. Really, really cool shots there too. See, that's much better than the glowy eyes from earlier, because then we get the cool little mini scene of Mary and Eva like go right in front of each other and embrace, and she kisses Eva's hand, and her eyes are reddish, but like they're not lit up stupidly like earlier. And then she says like, "Oh, my daughter," meaning Kathy, and Ava's eyes are reddish too. Really, really cool scene too. And then they see the slut girl making out with her boyfriend. And yeah, like Jennifer and the doctor are really fucking like rabbits, man. Because now they're in the hospital, and he reports that there's no change in Kathy's condition, and then they just start about to fuck on the little cot in his office. I think we get a really cool shot and a little sequence with the score kicks in, like the dark little piano clavichord sounding score, and then you see the shadow of what looks like Kathy, like walking across the wall. Like that looks really cool. Oh, I forgot all about this. So then she takes the covers off of Tom, the slutty girl, her boyfriend. She takes the covers off, and it's a severed neck. His head's gone. That looks great. Like it looks really really good. Awesome severed neck with the blood spurting out. Really really good. And I like how she keeps going to different rooms and she keeps seeing his body. Like it's the same room she keeps going to in like a loop. This is a really cool sequence. The whole entire thing. Like I really really love that. How she keeps going into opening a door and it's Tom's body there. Like with this missing his head. Like such a cool little sequence. Now that's a creepy image when you hear Kathy say, Kim, that's her name, the slut. I mean, she has a boyfriend. I don't know why I'm calling her a slut, but whatever. Kim, like I'm waiting for you, Kim. And then you see out of her Tom Cruise picture poster on the wall, you see Kathy like with her arms outstretched and stuff. That's creepy. Like that's a real creepy image. And then she like it's like halfway like out her window and she says Kathy, and then she falls to her death. Cool, like really cool. And Tom's not even dead. That was just a vision that she had to freak her out before she killed herself killed herself by jumping out the window. Like she was fine. I mean, Tom was fine until he looks down and sees her body, and then the window shutter comes down and just decapitates him, just like in the thing that she saw. Like it was kind of like a premonition before she died. This movie has a lot of great ideas in it that like I really feel are overlooked when people watch this movie. Like I know a lot of people who don't care for Enigma. And like I said, it's a definitely not a high ranked Fulci film for many, but it's always been in like maybe my 5 to 7 spot for Fulci movie. So I mean, I've always enjoyed the hell out of this movie. Like even if I don't watch it too often, I always have a good time watching this. And then we get a nice creepy shot of Ava looking and like stalking Jennifer back to the hospital, and we see her like behind a fence, and then Ava changes to Kathy. Really cool. So I mean, obviously, what I always piece this together as is that Kathy is vicariously living through Ava somehow, psychically, telepathically, and obviously she's taking revenge on all the people involved in putting her in a coma. How she's linked to her exactly, I don't know. Or like who Ava really is, or anything like that. Like I just know that somehow she's connected to Kathy, and Kathy's taking a revenge on all these people. The whole morgue scene ending here, like I love how this morgue looks. Like with the it looks like granite like on the walls and everything, and just no, it looks more like vinyl. Yeah, it's vinyl, but it looks like granite a little bit. Like, but I love how the room looks, and it's so like white, like lighting and everything. It's so brightly lit. Looks awesome. And then like Jennifer got chased in there by Eva, and she's gonna try to kill Jennifer off. Sorry. And yeah, and the score is so underrated in this movie too. Like love it. Like, except for like the here and there, like cheesy guitar solos that make it sound like really 80s. But I mean, I know people complain about that in Day of the Dead at the end, and it doesn't really bother me in that. Like, would it have been better without the guitar? Yeah. Like, I love the Day of the Dead score. I mean, it's my second favorite zombie movie of all time. I love that score. But I could see people not liking that cheesy 80s guitar, for sure. And it's the same thing with a few parts in the music in this movie. But, like, the original score, like, all by itself, really, really good. And I like when Jenny goes to, not Jenny, when, Eva goes to stab Jenny. And the doctor breaks in just at the right time, and she stabs his arm and scrapes it, and it looks pretty good after that. You see, like, his arm cut open, looks pretty good. Then she goes to stab Jenny again, and she just freezes and falls, and we find out that Mary, Kathy's mom, pulled the plug on Kathy upstairs in the hospital, which I guess severed their psychic link together, right? But then who and what was Ava? Well, like, is she like a doppelganger of Kathy? Was she only in existence, like, once Kathy was in a coma? Is she a figment of Kathy's imagination, or, of her coma? Or what? I mean, the mom, Mary, we see her eyes change, so is she able to kill for her? So, like, I'm not sure. I love how ambiguous it is, though. And then we just get these great closing shots of Ava on the floor in the morgue and panning up, then through the ceiling to uh, Kathy with Mary at the bedside, her mom, going up, then through the top of the hospital. Really cool ending shots here. And then it ends with the cheesy "put on your makeup." That terrible pop song, 80s pop song from the very beginning. But great movie, man. Like, it's like I said, very underrated Fulci. And it's definitely one of those movies that if I don't feel like throwing on, like any of the Gates of Hell trilogy or Zombie or basically like those, or New York Ripper, I'll throw on something like Enigma or Manhattan Baby or Murder Rock. Like a few of those. It's a nice little, like, deep cut Fulci without going like too deep, if that makes sense. But it's very underrated. Definitely his, like, Carrie for sure. Like, it's very, very reminiscent of Carrie and a decent amount of it. But if you guys have interpretations on the end, what do you guys think? Like I said, I guess Kathy is controlling Eva is obvious, and that they're kind of the same person or same spirit essence, because they keep showing, like, especially when she shows up at the school for the first time, Ava. You see Ava and it switches to Kathy. It switches to Ava back to Kathy. So it's the same person, or she's controlling, Ava to do what she wants. But then Mary, her mom, also has, the glowing eyes. So she has something telepathic or psychically going on too. Is she the one going through Kathy? Or is she killing for Kathy? But then, like, where did Ava come from? A lot of questions, and I think that's what makes Enigma such a enigma. Alright, guys, I hope everybody's having a good night, morning, or afternoon. We will have Basket Case 2 live watch party with me, my boys Dave and Sean. Dave, like, very, very, very commendably got through the first basket case. So now we have basket case 2, and then next week 3. So see if he can make it through. Because this one, basket case 2, is definitely a jump up in insanity from the first movie. So, alright, guys, hope everyone's having a good night again, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care, people.